Pay for itself, so at some point.
The council will please come to order. Would everyone please stand? We'll be led in prayer by Alderman Mark Betancourt.
Almighty God, we ask for your blessings upon the members of this council as we assemble here in this chamber to conduct the ongoing business of our city. With your guidance, we will strive to ensure that all our decisions are for the common good, and your inspiration will instill respect, compassion, and thoughtfulness in all our deliberations. Give us the strength and wisdom to lead by example as the people's representatives, and that peace and harmony will mark all our proceedings and keep us faithful to the trust placed in us by the citizens of your community. Amen.
Amen.
Yes, Alderwoman Gould, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All join with me in offering congratulations to Alderwoman Stacy Gould. She has a new job, that is of grandmother.
Thank you, Mayor.
Citizen comment general.
Thank you. I declare citizen comment general at this time. If you'd like to address the council on issues of importance, you'll have 3 minutes. Please give us your name and address at the microphone, please. One person did sign up, Samuel Browning.
Good evening, Samuel Browning, 671 Scotland Road, Norwich, Connecticut. It looks like you as a council will be making a decision shortly whether to try to attract a minor league team and rebuild Dodd Stadium. If you do this, the decision will have a life cycle of approximately 30 years. Even if 20 of those years end up being with another college wood and bat team occupying the stadium, which is a worst case scenario. Before you leap, please be aware of the following. Presently, you, the City Council, does not know exactly how much money has been directly lost on running the ballpark since 1994. We have an estimate from Attorney Carberry. I think it's a good faith estimate, but I think you should have your comptroller examine it because seeing some of the round numbers in it, it didn't look to me like it was necessarily all the interest on the bonds were included. Secondly, it does not include the hourly labor costs incurred by the Department of Public Works, who have been taking care of that location since 2019. Their takeover of the stadium was noted in the Stadium Authority minutes back in 2019. What is unknowable is how much tax revenue was lost by having the city own this land versus having the property developed by a tax-paying business. This is a double loss. Number one, both what was paid for the city for the stadium over time, and number two, what tax revenue never materialized. When I started research, I did not know that the Stadium Authority was actually losing money when the Navigators were a Yankee affiliate from 1995 to 2004. The minutes are replete with discussions of this. Their ability to break even or to control their loss was based on a deficit reduction provision that Milt Jacobson, I believe, negotiated. He's one of the people who's no longer with us. From 1998 to 2003, the Navigators returned roughly $233,000 to the Stadium Authority, which reduced their losses. I highly doubt you could get any minor league team to accept such a provision today. This is this particular document I had the city clerk provide. Historically, the Stadium Authority was not able to close the gap with other paying non-baseball events. I know it's possible to blame the folks on the Stadium Authority. I don't think it was their fault. I did think they did their best that they could, but they were never able to bridge the gap. After the Stadium Authority essentially closed down in 2019, there was not an increase in paying events at the stadium. I would suggest that close to half of all the uses are by nonprofits or are similarly done by free or reduced fee usage. You can't build a business model on that basis. You cannot break even doing so. Hiring an outside entity like NCDC to book and manage events would result in a substantial cost that would then reduce net revenue. May I have permission to speak for an extra 2 minutes since I'm the only person who's signed up?
Go ahead.
Thank you. If you do attract another minor league team within a few years, based on what has happened previously, they will attempt to negotiate concessions, which will shift more stadium costs to the city of Norwich. This was something done by previous teams. Because Norwich is a city of 40,000 surrounded by small rural towns, we have a perpetual demographic issue that has caused a lack of team and stadium authority revenue and has helped, not the only factor, but has helped lead to 2 teams vacating the stadium. In the absence of any sizable population increase over the last 2 decades, this problem has not changed. And as a matter of fact, New London County population in 2000, 259,000 people. Today, it's about 268,000. It's actually down about 6,000 since 2010. I'm saying the population is stagnant. That should be part of your decision-making. If you do rebuild the stadium, I can guarantee the team you start with will probably not be the team you end with 30 years later, if there is still a team in the stadium, which is your risk. My risk as well, since I'm a taxpayer. People are more motivated typically by avoiding the risk of losing something than by the concept of gain. It is not easy to come up with new economic development ideas that would work. The stadium is something that will exist as long as money is poured into it. But I challenge this council to come up with new and better ideas for economic development, and let's get out of the stadium business. Thank you for reading the report I provided you all with a copy of. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to address the council on general citizen comment at this time? Again, please state your name and address.
Beverly L. Jones, and it's about my personal taxed property that I live at. And I think that the mayor may be familiar. I gave him a folder with pictures. I'm surrounded by 3 city properties. So one side is open. One city portion, 60 feet in back of my home on the side is, I live at 9 Champlain Place. It's a dead-end street. At the end of the dead-end street is my property, and I have a garage, 2 garages, one small and one large. On the back of the property is a recreation area belonging to the city under the recreation department. On the west side of the property is Public Works, 12 feet from my property is Public Works. Next to Public Works is a strip belonging to the city that goes east about 60 to 70 feet. It's just a strip, because next to that is the property across the street from my house. When my parents bought the property, it was all woods. There were only 2 houses on Champlain Street, my house and the house next door, which is built the same. The water lines might be coming through that area. In front of my house is a indication of a water closure there. But the sewage pipes go out the back of the house, underground, because when I took over the property after my parents passed, I borrowed $80,000 to repair that sewage line. It goes out the back area of the property, down into 30 feet down over into the Spring Street area. In front of my house, across the street were all woods, and was a street named Swan. That came up to the east part of the property. So I'm surrounded on 3 sides. In front of my house is a street. That street property is supposed to be city, because when they purchased the property, it was just dirt, which my parents used that dirt block because that was the only way that we could get to the house. So about 20 years, 30 years maybe ago, in the late 50s, they tarred the street. They didn't tar the street, they put asphalt. Because I remember running around finding the engineer who was working for Public Works, and he pitted it so the water coming down the street would turn at our property and go down a ditch, which they never produced the ditch. It was always dug up. 60 feet of it was dug up by either myself and my father, or just my father. So that was Public Works area. So I complained about 3 or 4 years to Public Works that the water was stopping at the garages, going into the garages, rotting the sides of the garages. So finally, they came and they put asphalt on that street. So now and he curved it so the water goes down to the eastern portion, okay? And then down and back, and it goes on into the recreation area. There were no trees there in the 40s. Now they're 100 feet high, and every year they grow another 5 feet. So now they're way up 100 feet. They dried out the whole side of my house because the sun never gets to it. Took all the paint off my house. I took pictures and complained, but nobody ever did anything about them. So I used to have to pay my hard-earned income after they died and have someone at least cut the branches, because there's a retaining wall on that side that's 30 feet. And that retaining wall, my father always kept clean behind it, 5 feet of it into the recreation wooded area. We have to go down every spring, clean all that up away from the wall so the wall won't fall down. And so now I'm complaining because the side of my house isn't getting, and his son, I did have someone cut the branches back. And I have someone go down, I pay them to go down and take all the debris from the trees away from the wall. And as a result, my house has got all mildew on the ground and on the sides of the house. It's chipped. I only have so much income. I cannot afford to repair the house. I cannot afford to repair the backs of the garage. And last November, it rained 3 or 4 days for 2 weeks, each week. And it got from 60 feet of that property in the back of the house, and which has the recreation trees and things that fell. The people that clean around the tennis court put all the dead cut trees up against the wall. So when it rained and everything, the water, the bricks all fell and slipped into the recreation area. So there's no fence there now. It's all gone down with the bricks. I called the home insurance, and they said that it's an act of God. So it wasn't covered. The act of God, can you imagine? And it wasn't covered. So I went to the city about it, and Fonz, who was the director of Public Works, he was very kind. He came and sent 2 fellows up, and all they did was just take some of the trees away. They didn't take the fence, the debris, or anything. I have no fence on that side for 30 feet. The rest of the 60 feet to the end of the other property on the side of the house, I keep clean, because that's the wall my father and his friends built, a retaining wall out of cement. So that's there forever, I hope. But this side over here, that's 30 feet, that's going all down into the recreation area, and they pile all the dead cut trees from the tennis court up behind there. So it's all piled up, and it looks awful, terrible. So I'm just saying, and then in the front, where it's asphalt, they haven't tarred it for 10 years. It's never been tarred, it's just asphalt. The water comes down from the beginning of my street, which is south. And when the water comes down, it comes down like on a slant. So I get the Russian River. I don't know if anybody knows about the Russian River. That's in wine country. But it comes rushing down. And then it turns sometime. If it rains a long time, it sits and it's cracked. For the last 5 years, I got 10 cracks in it. I complained to Public Works. I showed the pictures, the mayor has it in a folder. He was kind enough to give it to Public Works, but they didn't do anything. However, they came and put tar in between the cracks. When the summer came and it got hot, I had guests that came with their cars, they parked their cars, they ride off. It's so hot that the tar stuck to their tires. So the opening slaps, and slits in the asphalt are open. I have to pay $17 to $25 for weed killer to keep the grass from growing up in the cracks. I'm out there at night or in the evening or whenever I get a chance to. I gotta be careful because after all, I'm not a child. I'm an older lady trying to keep her property. I have to pull the weeds up between the cracks, and it's very disheartening. So I just wanted to let somebody know. That's my final plea to you, to please have somebody. The engineer, I went to to superintendent, city manager's office, and the kind of lady there, Jackie, she was kind enough to say she would call the engineer and let him know that the water has cracked all the asphalt. So I saw in the mail last week after the engineer left, he was kind enough to put an insurance, water insurance, sewage. Sewage. I said the sewage goes out the backyard, not in front of my house where the cracks are. It comes from the water. Every time it rains, it comes down and it sits. And then it flows to the end of the property. And in flowing, they came and put rocks there in the gutter part, but they never cleaned the dirt up. So the rocks just sat on top of a mound of dirt. Instead of taking the dirt away and digging it and putting the stones in so the water could run through the stones down into the recreation area, they just put stones there on top of all that dirt. It's common sense that the water's not going to jump up over the stones. So I just got a problem, and I just need somebody to address it. And I thank you very much, all of you, for listening to me. Thank you.
Mrs. Jones, may I visit with you this week again?
Well, you know, if you give the folder anywhere else, it's not going to go anywhere past you. You know what I'm saying?
I will call you. Thank you. Yeah, anyone else like to address the council under general citizen comment at this time? Anyone else to address the council under general citizen comment? Yep, please.
Good evening, Brian Kovalars, 16 Hobart Avenue. Just a couple brief comments on the presentation that Glenn made. It was good to hear some of the old names I used to work with all the time. It's a shame many of them are gone. Glenn did a fantastic job accumulating, putting together data. I want to see that white paper. I'm sure that reflects a lot of what he was talking about tonight. One thing that I would like to mention, though, is true, 9.8 million to do ours. Hartford, 56 million, correct. I know it's not generally public information, but I did at one point read a report. I believe it was from 2019. And what I wanted to talk to you about was the naming rights. That is important. And throughout the entire country, that's how a lot of communities are able to get back some of the investment that they make. And that goes back into the community. In Hartford, it's actually not the Duncan facility, but even after the trademark name ended up changing, it's still the Dunkin' Donuts Park. From what I understand, at least 2019, the amount that was paid by the team, or by Duncan, for those naming rights was approximately $500,000. The first $50,000 of that went directly to the team. The remainder of it was a 50-50 split between the city and the team. So the city ends up getting at least some reimbursement for the investment. When you end up looking at the long-term future of this property and what is done with it, I hope that you look at naming rights and do negotiation, should it remain there, that will be beneficial and be something that the community can rely on. We can't afford to give it away. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Again, anyone like to address the council at this time under general citizen comment.
I just had a question. I'm here to discuss the roundabouts. Would I be able to talk afterwards, or how would we proceed on that?
Yes, there's a moment when we have citizen comment on the resolutions. Yes, sir. Again, anyone else like to address the council under general citizen comment at this time? Anyone else under general citizen comment at this time? Anyone else under general citizen comment at this time? Seeing no one else, I declare that closed. Thank you.
Commission and Communication, number 1, memo from the state of Connecticut on the transfer of Crane Avenue.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to bring this to the floor. President Pro Tem, second Alderwoman Gould. If there's discussion on the motion. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt? Yes. Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia? Yes. Mayor Knight?
Yes. Thank you. The motion is adopted 7-0.
City Manager's report?
Thank you. This is the city manager report for May 20th, 2024. Meetings attended were Southeastern Council of Governments Executive Committee meeting, Southeastern Area Transit, Connecticut Conference of Municipalities Legislative Committee and Board of Directors meeting, and Connecticut Investment Fund CIF stakeholders. The Board of Assessment Appeals completed their 2023 revaluation hearings. There were 118 scheduled hearings with 20 changes made by the board. The elderly/total disabled tax relief program ended on May 15th. There were 204 applicants, 133 residents who reapplied, and 71 residents applying for the first time. On Tuesday, May 7th, the city and the COG staff, with assistance from the transportation consultant for the Chelsea Harbor Downtown Norwich Mobility Study, walked around the downtown, strategically meeting with business owners, residents, and visitors to spread information about the project and to the public meeting scheduled for June 5th from 5 to 7 p.m. in room 335 at City Hall. The Community Project Fund request, which Public Works submitted to Congressman Joe Courtney's office, has been selected for inclusion in his projects, which are now being sent to the Appropriations Committee. The request for the $600,000 to finish the replacement of the floating docks in Howard Brown Park. The city's paving contractor, Charles Pasiak, has completed the first section of paving for this construction season. The roads paved were Yantic, including Sunnyside Street, Sunnyside East, and West Roads, and Chapel Hill Road. Human Services partnered with the Norwich Public Schools to host a multicultural night with over 100 attendees, and Youth and Family Services held the annual National Youth Services Award on May 8th for 8 high school students who are leaders in our community. Congratulations to Isis Bandele Asante, Kinnick Campbell, Ethan Danner, Khalib Haggett, Patrick Lawson, Grady Red Fisher, Rose St. Eloy, and Sadia Zachariah. The city learned this week that their 2024 Community Development Block Grant allocation is $840,890. The Community Development Advisory Committee will be meeting to adjust the amounts that projects and programs will receive for the coming program year. The 2024 dog license season is approaching. Reminder postcards will be going out at the end of May, and licensing for the current year will start June 1st through June 30th. Please be sure that your dog's rabies vaccine is good through July 1st, 2024. The cost to license a neutered spayed dog is $8. and $19 for altered dogs. Also, this will be the last year that the city clerk's office will be sending out reminder postcards. The city clerk's office will be instituting a notify me option on the city website, norwichct.org, to receive reminders that your dog license will be due going forward. And that completes my report for this evening.
John, any questions of the city manager? Alderman Nash.
John, where do we stand with the Chiefs meetings? Where do we stand with the Chiefs meetings?
We are going to have some informal meetings coming up soon. We're still discussing the letter that was sent to the city around 8 months ago now. The chief has been meeting, the chief of the city's department has been meeting with the volunteer fire departments on operational matters for the last few months. But a formal resumption of chiefs and managers meeting has not been instituted since there are still differences in the letter that was sent to the city with an ultimatum that we must adhere to their suggestions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there other questions or concerns? Yes, President Pro Tem.
Thank you. I was wondering, and I see that Pat McLaughlin is here, but I wonder, do we ever finish the project on Caribou Drive and repave the street?
When I come to the, because I don't know that offhand, so I would have to call on,
The water line is under construction now, so it will be paved by the end of the construction season. It's an NPU project being done with grant funds, so it will be done it'll should be complete by fall.
Perfect, yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions at this time, the city manager? If not,
Citizen comment on resolutions on agenda items only.
at this time, I declare citizen comment on resolutions open. If you wish to address any of the 5 resolutions before us, please approach the dais, state your name and address for the public record. And we'd like to address this on resolutions. Yep.
Thank you. Excuse me. My name is Paul Agranovich, and I'm with Universal Package Store, 680 West Main Street in Norwich. And what I would like to talk about is an issue that just doesn't seem to go away. It's the discussion on the roundabouts. I know on the agenda tonight, there's an item from the state where I believe they just want to get approval from the council so that if this does go forward, that they then would have the okay to do it. Am I basically correct on that? I think this is certainly the horse before the cart. It hasn't been approved, and sadly, with my dealings with the state over a number of years, there's no transparency, none. They want to ram this thing through, which is going to cause economic disaster, not hardship, but disaster. And I'm not going to go into all the alternatives that can be used, but there are several other things that can be done besides putting in these roundabouts. But I think if you give them the approval tonight, they will use that and say the council has approved it, we're going to go forward now. I don't trust them, and I ask you, and I hate where politics gets involved, particularly you see it on the national level, nothing gets done. Just look at this and vote with your hearts. Use your head with it. That's really the most important thing. Please, don't give it to them. The other factor is that they're asking Norwich, which is not a wealthy town, to assume the costs of all this work. If there are some mistakes that are made by the state, not that they don't make any, because I've seen so many of them in the work that they did back in '88, which are still lingering, Norwich is going to have to pick it up and be responsible for it. So please, that's all I can do is ask you to really think this through, because it's just, in essence, the state of Connecticut just wants to ram this thing through. The council has said they don't want it, the state doesn't care, and that's all they want to do. So please do the right thing. Let this go through. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to address the council on the resolutions before it at this time? Yep, Mr. Bowie.
Good evening. Rodney Bowie, 62 Roosevelt Avenue, Norwich. Comment on the item 1? No, item 2. We had hearings before on this roundabout, and I disagree with everything on it. That's serious. We talk about the problems with business, utilities. I'm confused. They want us to take over everything from what I can see. All the maintenance, all the upkeep of all the stuff except the street. Now, maybe I'm confused, but it seems like all the residents of town are not in favor of this. Now, I understand it's an election year. Maybe the state of utility just want to spend enough money to keep everybody working. I'm not real crazy about it, and I hope my kids aren't either. Someone's going to pay for this. This is a catastrophe. I understand the utilities been in the ground for a long time, water mains and other things, and they always have to be taken care of. But it isn't Norwich's sole reason for being here, to take care of things that the state can think of just to spend a bunch of money. And on item 2, let's see. On item 5, I cannot understand exactly what they're talking about, because they're talking about copper and lead in water systems. I would think about this time, they start thinking about putting in some kind of plastic or other stuff. I ran across some of this stuff many, many years ago, and it wasn't copper, wasn't lead. I'm chairman of the Lead Abatement Rehab Group, and we've started changing people's services going into their houses. If they're lead, change it. The outfit will pay it. Now, I think that's about enough of this roundabout business. I call it a runaround. I continually get it mixed up. I keep calling it a runaround thing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Again, anyone else like to address the council on the resolutions before us at this time? Yep, Mr. LaRose.
Chris LaRose, General Manager, Norwich Public Utilities. I'm requesting in Resolution 5 that the ordinance public hearing, second reading and possible action be moved to June 3rd, as is an urgency to this project. This project was started in 2022, and the scope has significantly changed. We have an assessment due regulatorily. It's required by October of this year. So time is of the essence to get this scope changed, and we have found significant differences from records and expectations than what we started with. So if the council is amenable, we would love to have that changed so we can continue on this work and meet our very tough deadline. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to address the council under citizen comment, please?
Kovalar, 16 Hobart Avenue, one more bite at the apple. Dealing with resolution number 1. Was able to watch the recording from a not too recent, or very recent rather, meeting of the council. A lot of you were very, very hung up, as well as you should have been, with whether or not something was feasible, if that was going to lock the city council into a future action. When I read the state's DOT letter, it speaks of a divided highway. It speaks of a roundabout. It speaks of all these specifics. Is this not the same case where if you endorse that letter, you are locking yourself into a future set of actions that you won't be able to pull back from without a lot of problems in the long run? I think it's worth consideration that Crane Avenue, all those transfers take place, that we look at roundabouts in the future. They can be of some benefit, but the economic cost in the meantime is going to be significant to the city. These are things that we need to have a full understanding of before we move forward. And I think that if we go and endorse the letter from the DOT for a divided roadway, for a single lane, I mean, when you go from a single lane to a double lane, everybody's going to speed up. It'll make Route 82 worse than ever. So we need to take those things into consideration. I think it needs further study. Thank you for your time and attention. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
I got something to say about the roundabout, too. Our area met about...
Excuse me, Mrs. Jones, could you just please state your name and address?
Beverly L. Jones.
Thank you.
This is not about 9 Champlain Place. I hope you heard me where I said about 9 Champlain Place. However, it's about the roundabout. We met in my neighborhood. Of course, the neighborhood has changed in 3 years. Maybe half of the people are different now. But 3 years ago, we met when this was brought up in our area, about 10 of us, from Avery Street, all the way to the end of Mount Pleasant, Summer Spring Street. We all met down in the park. We talked about it. And me, myself, I'm not for it at all, because I'd have to go all the way over to 32 to get to Big Y or to get to ShopRite and those stores to shop. Because, excuse me, according to the map, the roundabouts are going to be in the areas. I only got 2 ways to get to West Main Street from Mount Pleasant, which my street is off of Mount Pleasant. And there's 2 ways. And if they're going to have roundabouts in them, I'm going to have to go all the way over to 32, go down to Dunham Street, and if the roundabout's the end of Dunham Street, I got to go all the way down to the bottom of the hill near Mohegan to get over all the way up past the golf course. And we talked about it, just to get to West Main Street. This is ridiculous. The gas now is high, and this is just not a good plan at all for the people that live up in that area, okay, like myself and those other 10 members. Of course, 3 or 4 of them are gone now, they sold their property. But I just wanted you to know that people that live in those houses in that area are concerned about it also, because they're going to have to, all 32 is going to be the only area they go to get back over on West Main Street. So I just wanted to address that. Thank you.
Thank you. And anyone else like to address the city council at this time on the 5 resolutions before us? Yes? Stand by.
Nice being here.
Name and address, please, Ben.
I want to give it to you. I'm just the turtle in the room. Bear with me, Mayor Nystrom. Matter of fact, I learned that at this stage in my life, when I was a youth, my methodology wasn't recognized. And I don't want to get into that. But my name is Ben Haith, and I live at 24 Grant Court. Now, I don't have a lot of knowledge about the roundabouts, but I do have experience in dealing with communities and neighborhoods when I was living in Boston. I was a community activist and organizer, and we faced a number of issues. That I sense in this meeting about the roundabouts, and perhaps I'm not aware of the city providing information to the residents of Norwich pertaining to the roundabouts. We're living now in an age where information can be provided. People in this area can look at what the roundabouts would look like and how it would affect the businesses and the traffic, the children, and so forth. I don't know if that's been provided, but I'm putting that out as a suggestion, that the city provide the residents with more information about the roundabouts, because I get the sense that some of them are in the dark about it. And this is an important issue to them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else here like to address the council on the resolutions before us, please? Anyone else want to address the council with the issues before us? To address the city at this time on the resolutions before us. Seeing no one else, I declare that closed. Thank you all.
New business resolutions, number 1, relative to the city manager being authorized and directed to execute and deliver a letter or document indicating the city's concurrence to the proposed transfer to it should the state of Connecticut through the DOT acquire Crane Avenue.
Thank you. At this time, a motion, please, to bring it to the floor. President Pro Tem, Second Alderman Singh. Is there discussion at this time? Alderwoman Gould?
I understand the need to make West Main Street a safer road. And I know how hard the state engineers and Scott Bushy have worked to put this plan together. But I have to agree with Mr. Agranovich. The economic development impact will be devastating. As a small business owner, I would be absolutely devastated. Somebody came and knocked on my door and said, I know you've built your business from the ground up, that you have blood and your sweat and your tears are in this building, but the state needs it to make a roundabout, so we're going to help you move somewhere else. Or, I know you've got a gas station, but sorry, we're going to close the gas station. Or we're going to close your dance studio, or you're going to make your parking lot smaller. There have got to be other options available. And I'm not an engineer, I don't pretend to be one. But whether it's changing the lights, changing the curb cuts, more enforcement, or we have got to get the people who drive in our community on West Main Street to slow down, to put down their phones, because the call that you're taking, if it's that important, pull over. If you have to text somebody, pull over. It can't be that important that you have to take it while you're driving. You are taking the lives, your own life, and the lives of other people in your hands. Pay attention when you're driving. It is a privilege, not a right. And believe me, I've lived in Norwich my whole life. I've seen the accidents on West Main Street. But we have got to get people to change their behavior. I know COVID made people crazy, change their driving behaviors. Well, we need to change them back. But I can't face the people who live in my community and say, oh yeah, I'm sorry, the Galavins, the McDonald's, and say, yeah, sorry, I know, they're taking your business. They're gonna relocate you someplace else, but there has just got to be another way, and I cannot support resolution number 1 or number 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion on Resolution 1? None. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nash? No. Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
No.
Alderman Singh? Yes. President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
No. The resolution is adopted 4-3.
Number 2, relative to the city manager being authorized and directed to sign, date, and return a copy of the attached letter indicating the city's concurrence with the responsibilities to be imposed upon with the DOT's proposed improvements to Route 82.
Thank you. As I ask for a motion and a second to bring this to the floor, I'd like to point out to council members that Mr. Scott Bushy from DOT is with us tonight, and he has brought additional staff as well. If you have individual questions, you'll have an opportunity to ask them directly. Is there a motion at this time to put this on the floor? President Pro Tem, is there a second? Alderman Singh. Is there discussion on Resolution 2 at this time, or questions? Alderwoman Gould.
Do we have any idea what will be the cost of our responsibilities?
The Public Works Director is here. I believe there was an estimate last year. I don't know if it's changed, but if you'd like to please put that on the public record.
Good evening, Pat McLaughlin, Director of Public Works. We put together an estimate of that last year plus ago, probably, and we estimated it to be about $10,000 to $12,000 per year. Much of the landscaping, the trees and things are very low maintenance, will require 2 times a year maybe maintenance. There's not grass or anything, it's low landscaping, and the snow removal from the crosswalk, the refuge areas in the crosswalks will be relatively minimal. So that's what we had put together back at that time.
Thank you. Alderman Gould.
One other question. Who will be responsible for maintaining during the snow plowing season? Who will be responsible? If it's a state road and they're plowing the roads, will they be shoveling the pedestrian areas, or will that be the responsibility of the city of Norwich?
That'll be like it is now. They don't do the sidewalks in that area. Our ordinance puts that responsibility on the adjacent property owners, but we would have to do the crosswalk areas in the middle, in the roadway portion.
Mr. Bushy, if you'd like to join us, please. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having DOT here tonight, and appreciate being back here. The concern with snow removal on the crosswalks was brought up 2 years ago at the council meeting, and with After such discussion was brought back to our maintenance office at DOT, DOT has agreed to clear the crosswalks. So that will be our responsibility. Snow removal will be done by DOT at the crosswalks. City sidewalks will be the same as it is today. Something else to consider, which has come up at previous council meetings, the water main. DOT has had time to evaluate that. We haven't put a lot of resources in it, and we wouldn't unless we know the project's moving ahead. But at a concept level, we are certain about 3,000 feet of the water main would be replaced under this project and funded by DOT, both design and construction paid for by DOT. So DOT's picking up that expense. The true maintenance costs by the city are really the landscape pruning and some illumination costs for uplighting in the center islands to show up on the landscaping.
Alderman Gould, you still have the floor.
Well, I'd like to ask Mr. LaRose, if you're maintaining, how many feet of water main do we have on West Main Street if you're going to pay for 3,000 feet? Is that 3,000 feet out of 5,000 feet or 3,000 feet out of 10,000 feet or?
Currently, under phase one of the project, there's about 4,800 feet. DOT is.
In phase, all right, so in phase one, there's 4,800 feet of water main.
DOT is fairly confident 3,000 feet will be paid for under the project with state funds, both design and construction. If this project's moving ahead, we'll spend a lot more time working with Mr. LaRose and his staff. There'll be plans drawn up, maybe some more test pits, more evaluation done. It'll take more time. We may be expanding that, but as of today, it looks like about 3,000 feet would be impacted by the work, and that would be funded under the project.
And what about if there's phase two?
We're here about phase one today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Gould. You still have questions for?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Other members, while Mr. Bushy is with us, do they have questions for him? President Pro Tem.
I just want to clear up one thing. Was stated during public comment that if the state decides that they get into this project and they're not going to complete it, that the city would have to bear the expense. That's not true.
That's not the case.
How is the project being funded?
The project is a combination of state and federal funds. There's no city funding in the project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other members, questions? Well, since you're here, Mr. Bushy, you and I, we met on Friday. I appreciate the time you gave us and the questions and information you shared. Because people are here and maybe people are watching, this project has been around, at least with my participations, 8 years now, all the way back to 2016. And there have been a number of changes. We were talking 6 roundabouts, it's now 4. The roundabout at East Great Plains Four Corners is not in the proposed design at phase 1. The roundabout at Surplus Unlimited is being replaced by a left turn structure. If you're heading east, you'll be able to do a left-hand turn for that purpose. And I believe in phase 1, there's also a right-hand turn structure for people turning onto Dunham, because that's a temporary. That's actually incorporated in phase 2, where a roundabout will be located there. So there will be a combination of roundabout and left and right turn structure there. As you told us, and I did share that information this afternoon with members of council. I hope they had time to see the email. You're looking to begin in 2027 is the date you were discussing, if you could comment on that.
Correct. So you may see some work begin in the fall of '26. We have advanced utility work that's going to be ongoing that may start the project. And I think you'll see that happening before the bulk of the road construction would take place, but the road construction would be in probably spring of '27, heavy road construction and utility work prior to that.
Thank you. And you also talked about the placement of a field office when Phase 1 gets going, and that phase, field office would remain in place. Could you outline the reasons for that, please?
Yeah, so our DOT projects have staff that oversee the contractors. We have somebody there daily monitoring the work, progress of the work, quality control of the work, taking material samples, how much work was done each day. This is all for quality control, budgeting, and payment. There'll be several people on staff overseeing this project. I mentioned with the mayor, and I've brought this up previously, this is actually the fourth time I've been at City Hall on this project in this room, in addition to 3 additional times at Kelly Middle School. But we discussed a community and business liaison as part of this project because of so many business concerns. We've heard a number of times the driveways back in the 80s when Route 82 was widened didn't come out well. The grades are kind of steep. There was maybe poor workmanship. We've heard that. I understand. I'm clear. And as part of this project, and we've done this on other times, it's been successful, we will have a community liaison as part of the inspection team. That person will maintain a website which will have look-ahead information on what the contractor is going to be working on over the next month or 2 months. We can have Chamber of Commerce meetings with that person, business meetings to give feedback. This will be the person that if a business owner has an issue with their driveway or something going along in their frontage, any concern, that person will be available to meet with that business owner and be a liaison with our contractor to try to remedy the situation. This will be the person that goes out to contact the business owners when we're going to be working near their storefront or their driveway and ask them, what are your delivery schedules? How do you get your deliveries? And how best can we accommodate you while we're working on your driveway? This is the type of communication that we plan with this person specifically tasked for that. In addition to that, you'll have the inspectors out there that are doing quality control and measuring quantities. The construction field office, it's typically a trailer, but there may be opportunities for the contractor to rent an office space in this area. That happens too. If it's a trailer, the contractor has the opportunity to propose the location of the trailer. It may be at one of the businesses that's going to be acquired along Route 82, or sometimes they use commuter parking lots. But it's going to be very close to this district.
Thank you. You also discussed that during the construction, that I'll say the goal is to have at least one lane open in both directions at all times, unless there's an absolute interruption based on a particular need at that point.
There will be times when we have to do alternating one-way traffic, paving operations, placing a pipe, things like that. It's going to happen. But for the most part, we're going to have one lane in each direction. We're going to look into as much night work as possible to minimize traffic disruptions during the day. This is probably going to be milling, paving, maybe some of the concrete activities could be done at night to minimize traffic disruptions. And these are things that we'll talk about with the community business liaison that we have on site. The one thing about night work is we can't do the whole project at night. There are neighborhood areas and these people need to sleep, so there's competing interests. But you know, sometimes we can do a couple of nights at a time and then go back to day work and just use the night work for the most impactful traffic operations.
Thank you. You also discussed the potential closure of roads that intersect with this project on a temporary closed basis. For example, you mentioned Beckwith, you mentioned even Osgood. If you could, for the record, discuss that, please.
So the city's been pretty vocal about concerns about traffic flow and disruption to traffic during construction. And the message is the sooner we can complete the construction, the better, and the more efficiently we can complete it, the better, and not to drag the project out any longer than necessary. If we are able to close the side streets, and these are conversations that we had with Public Works and your city engineer, it will help us to accelerate the project construction because we won't have work on that street. We won't have traffic on that street which interferes while we're trying to place the curbing or pour the concrete. We can work faster and we won't have that traffic making left turns across the intersection we're trying to work. And it's going to allow us to more efficiently build the project. Now, we've done some research and all of these side streets along Route 82 in the project area have a grid network. So if Mount Pleasant at the intersection is closed, Osgood is going to be available. Go down a block and you can access Route 82. And we would post that on the website and get that information out there as to when these closures might occur. And 2 weeks at a time would help us to accomplish quite a bit of work on these side streets.
Thank you. You also discussed digital signs available at each end of the highway, giving information on a daily basis so that people understand what they're encountering as they drive. Could you elaborate on that?
Our projects typically have changeable message signs. We've all seen them driving on the highway. That can inform motorists when activities are going to be planned that will interfere with traffic, and we can maintain them throughout the project.
Thank you. Alderman Singh, please join us.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Scott. Question on the bus shelters. They are part of the plan. They'll be replaced?
Yes, I don't have a lot of details on that tonight, but yes, there's at least one location within the project next to the plaza that has a shelter that will be replaced with the project.
And second thing is, I think city costs will be reduced considerably because now state is picking the tab for the snow plowing and stuff. So we don't have that accurate number, but I don't think then $10,000 to $12,000 is an accurate number. It might drop to $4,000 to $5,000.
Yeah,
If it's just a landscaping.
There'll be landscaping that requires pruning. There's going to be median trees and also trees within the center islands of the roundabouts that we've coordinated the species with the city, that and we've got recommendations for Armstrong maple trees, columnar elms, pear trees, and those will require pruning on a 2 to 5 year basis. That's what we anticipate.
And you have already educated the business owners who will have to relocate about different options that they have and how they can maximize to make sure they're getting compensated for all their moving cost. And
owners that are proposed for complete acquisition have been informed. They've had meetings with us, one-on-one discussions.
Thank you.
Most of them we've met with several times over the past 5 years.
Thank you. That raises another point. In fact, in addition to 4 versus 6, one property that was scheduled or was proposed to be scheduled during the last full discussions was the Greater Jewelers facility. That is no longer the case. Is that not correct? There may be some loss in parking.
Grader's Jewelers, we anticipate interference in the driveway area, reconstruction of his driveway, entering the parking lot. We anticipate the loss of 1 parking space. The design for, that's in phase 2, and the design for phase 2 is not complete yet. We're here tonight about phase 1, but at the concept level work we've done, we can say with confidence that Grader's Jewelers is not a total acquisition. Impacts with his property will be limited to the parking areas.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I know they do as well, that being on the record.
You mentioned removal of the roundabout at New London, and with that, there's a new car wash that just went in where the old repair garage was, and the London Turnpike or 82. So that's going to be left a traffic signal. That property will be uninterrupted, and then the property directly across from him, which was a significant impact, will be left as is well. No impact there at New London. New London's going to be a traffic signal upgrade. We'll look at pedestrian improvements and what we can do with that signal to improve safety at the existing intersection.
Thank you. You were referencing 507, the London Turnpike.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Members have questions or concerns for Scott? He's kind enough to be with us this evening. Thank you. I don't see anyone else. Thank you very much. Is there further discussion at this time on what's before us? I'll be brief. One, I appreciate very much the time DOT has given the city to hear our concerns, complaints. Phase 1 has been changed. There is less impact as far as the total number of properties lost, but there is still loss. I appreciate the time the commissioner and deputy commissioner gave Chris LaRose and I, John Solomon and Pat McLaughlin last November. We met with them about this project. Both the deputy and the commissioner are in that meeting, and I do appreciate, I want that on the public record, the attention and time they're giving this project. I will be voting no for myself. I am concerned about the interruption of the business cycle on a day-to-day basis. I have heard and listened to the owners who are losing their properties, and I'm very concerned about that. But I do, and I am grateful for the amount of time DOT has provided. They have listened, they've made changes. Probably one of the largest acknowledgements is the 3,000 feet or length of water line. That was not known 2 years ago. That was not substantiated. And if that cost can be, again, reduced with further examination, for example, the hydrology study is not complete on this road. They're still compiling that data and can't go forward till that is completed as well. They are working with us. I just wish we had a different solution before us tonight. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nash? No. Alderman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
No.
Alderman Singh? Yes. President Pro Tem DeLucia? Yes. Mayor Nystrom?
No. Thank you. The resolution is adopted 4-3.
Number 3, relative to the city manager being authorized to negotiate a purchase and sales agreement to acquire the property known as Marina Towers.
Thank you. A motion, please, to bring this to the floor. Alderman Nash, second Alderman Singh. Is there discussion?
And I don't know what comment you might make, but I know, Mayor, you shared an email response to a citizen that I thought was directly on point. It's important that we acquire this piece of property now while it's available. The city owning the property, at least in the short term, while we remediate the site and prep it for development, because we see it as I know we agree on this, we see it as a major component of the puzzle that has been the marina property for the last 40 years. So I'm happy that we're finally moving forward on this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Yes, Alderman Bettencourt, please.
I'll reiterate what was just said by the pro tem, but also, I mean, that property's been an eyesore for literally decades. And it's integral to the marina site, so I think it behooves us to make the acquisition while we can and while it's at a less while it's at a price that's not too onerous. So let's just call it that.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Alderman Singh?
I just want to comment, this resolution shows the city commitment to develop their marina and other waterfronts, and I think it's a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Alderman Nash?
I've been sitting up here a while, and this marina's always been on the, it's never been on the back burner, but a lot of times it didn't get the attention it should. So I'm really happy to see us moving forward with this, and look forward to the improvement of the marinas over the next few years.
Thank you. Other comments at this time? Alderwoman Gould?
So I agree, we need to buy this property, do something with it. It's a gateway property. The fairs have spent a lot of money in this area, and since 2000, I think it's been 2007, nothing's happened with this property. It's just gotten worse and worse and worse. They have tried to market it, they've tried to sell it, hasn't worked, it's best in the hands of the city right now. We'll get it cleaned up and do something really nice with it. So I'll be supporting resolution number 3.
Thank you. Is there further comment? Alderwoman Hayes.
Resolution 3, I'll be supporting, and I hope that this will help strengthen our application going back to receive additional monies from the Community Investment Fund, demonstrating that we as a city are willing to put money into the marina, and hopefully that will encourage our CIF review committee to give us additional dollars to continue to upgrade the marina.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? I will briefly share that the city is in a unique position because it is eligible for brownfield remediation grants from the state. The private sector is not. And thus, we're taking control of this site, much like we did the YMCA, controlling our own destiny. That is now under development, owned by the private sector, and at the end of the day, much like the marina itself in the future, with our new operators, this piece of land itself can also end up in the private sector hand, being a taxable property. The city owning land is no benefit to anyone. It doesn't pay for our schools, it doesn't pay for employees. But taking charge, taking responsibility for moving this forward is very, very important, particularly at this time. It demonstrates our resolve to lead, and we need to do that with these particular pieces of property, and that's what this resolution provides for, and that's why I'm supporting it as well. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nash? Yes. Alderwoman Hayes? Yes. Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould? Yes. Alderman Singh? President Pro Tem DeLucia? Yes. Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. The resolution is adopted 7-0.
Number 4, relative to the amendment of existing American Rescue Plan Act allocations.
Thank you. A motion, please, to bring this to the floor. Alderwoman Gould, second. Alderwoman Hayes. Is there discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia? Yes. Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. The resolution is adopted 7-0.
Resolution number 5, relative to a motion for reconsideration of an ordinance increasing the appropriation from $500,000 to $2 million for the cost of planning a lead copper service line replacement program in the city of Norwich, increasing the authorization from $500,000 to $2 million for the issuance of revenue bonds of the city secured solely by the water revenue to meet said appropriation, and authorizing the city and Department of Public Utilities to enter into grant and loan agreements and a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect thereto.
Thank you. Motion, please, to bring this forward. Alderman Nash, second. President Pro Tem.
Make it clear, this is a motion to reconsider.
I was about to do that once it's before the floor. This is singularly a motion to reconsider. Should it pass, then there'll be another vote required. The ordinance will be brought back before us at this time for consideration of a new date.
So move to reconsider the ordinance as read by the clerk.
Second.
No, we already have a motion on
Add
the
that
floor.
motion.
Yeah, no, we'll need that, thank you. We first have to act on the motion to reconsider. Is there further discussion? I see none. Roll call.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes? Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes, the motion to reconsider is adopted 7-0. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to reconsider the actual date of the public hearing for the second read of the ordinance increasing the appropriation from $500,000 to $2 million for the cost of planning a lead copper service line replacement program in the city of Norwich. Is there such a motion? President Pro Tem, second Alderwoman Gould. Is there discussion on the motion? Pro Tem.
So we moved to, or actually, we voted to move this to June 17th on our calendar. That was inadvertent for all the reasons that Mr. LaRose stated. We need to hold a public hearing, have second reading and possible action on June 3rd so that this program can move forward as expeditiously as possible.
Thank you, sir. Is there further discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Nash? Yes. Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt? Yes. Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. The motion passes 7-0.
Move pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 1-200 subsection 6, that the members of the Norwich City Council go into executive session for the purpose of discussing strategy and negotiations with respect to collective bargaining. City Manager John Salamone, Director of Human Resources Robert Scalise, Comptroller Josh Pothier, and Corporation Counsel Michael Driscoll shall be asked to participate during all or portions of this executive session at the request of the City Council.
Thank you. Is there a second? Alderwoman Hayes. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President DeLucia? Yes. Mayor Nystrom?
Motion is adopted to go to executive session 7-0. Room 319, please. The council will come back to order. Let the record show that no votes were taken during the executive session. Motion, please, to return to the meeting. Nash, Hayes, the maker of the motion. Roll call, Nash. Yes. Hayes.
Yes.
Bettencourt.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Singh. DeLucia.
Yes.
Nystrom, yes. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Nash. Roll call, Nash. Hayes.
Yes.
Bettencourt.
Yes.
I'm sorry, what? Oh, okay, sorry. Gould.
Yes.
Singh.
Yes.
And DeLucia. And Nystrom, yes. Motion passes 7-0. We are adjourned. Thank you.
That was easy.
There we go.